a clear investigation, an open, transparent investigation, because we want to start a process against those who are responsible in Europe of 2022. It cannot be the case that such kind of crimes are not investigated and not brought to court finally. I want to thank also our president, Roberta Metsola. You know, she was last week in Kiev. She was the first president of a European institution traveling to Kiev. It was a trip which was not without risks, but she was ready to do so. And I want to thank the administration and especially Roberta Metsola for her strong signal that the European Parliament was there, that this institution of people was there, was a great message. And as EPP, we are proud of this message. I want to underline that having the general development over the last days in mind, the EPP Group is also asking for a kind of a Russia stress test for all legislation on the table. We are living in a new world on the 24th of February, so every legislation on the table must be checked, and we need ambitions for the future, especially when we speak about the European Defence Union. We speak a lot about the issues, but we have for the moment no concrete proposal on the table, how to achieve it, how to make it real. That's why we need this Russia stress test of the ongoing legislation, and we need ambitions for the future, and that means a real defence union. Last week we had a meeting of the head of national delegation leaders of the EPP Group. That's the leading body inside of my political family. And we agreed on some key requests and key political ideas on the current state of play towards Russia. And I want to inform you about the outcome there, and we also distribute afterwards a position paper we agreed on. The first message is that the EPP Group jointly, unanimously, is asking for an immediate embargo on oil and coal towards Russia. So an immediate embargo on oil and coal towards Russia, and gas as soon as possible. We are asking also for an immediate the granting of a candidate status without delay towards Ukraine. We think that this is politically extremely important for the people in Ukraine, that they feel welcomed. If Zelensky is asking us, is it worth to fight? Can we join the European Union? Then it's now needed to say, yes, you can join, you can become member of the European Union. As a third concrete point, we ask to mirror all the EU sanctions towards Russia, also for Belarus. I think that is crucial that we don't have any kind of different treatment. Then we also ask for setting up a war tribunal of crimes committed by Russia in Ukraine, linked to what we saw now in Bucha. And we also underline that we keep all sanctions implemented until the last Russian soldier has left Ukraine. We want to make sure with this political statement that we cannot allow that Putin wins, or even wins 50%, something like that. That must be clear. We need a success for our Ukrainian friends. Let me finally make one statement to the EU-China summit last Friday. We all know that from a geopolitical point of view, this was a crucial meeting. The outcome is disappointing. We saw that Beijing was, in a way, accusing Europe that we are part of escalation about a request towards a new security architecture for Europe and even globally. So that was quite disappointing what we saw from the Chinese. And my message and EPP message is, don't opt for the wrong side of history. This will have consequences. We cannot allow that those who are on the side of Russia will be treated like those who are on our side. It's now time to decide on which side of history you stand. And I think for Beijing, for China, it must be clear that this will have probably also consequences for them if they opt for the wrong side. So there are a few considerations for the current state of play.
We get now some questions. The papers that the chairman mentioned are here, printed in the front of the room, or otherwise you can find them in our website. David.
Thank you very much. David Carretta, Radio Radicale, Italian Radio. Two questions, if I may. You said that you have the unanimity of the EPP group Can you hear me? Okay. You said that you have the unanimity of the EPP group on that position paper. There are some delegation, for example, Forza Italia, normally are not so keen to push sanction toward Russia. So I'm wondering if they gave the green light to this position paper. And the second question is a more general question on Angela Merkel legacy. Do you think that the former chancellor should apologize for her position and policy toward Russia? Yesterday we heard President Steinmeier saying that he was wrong on Nord Stream 2 and in general on Vladimir Putin. Do you think that it's time for Angela Merkel to apologize? Thank you.
Question we had yesterday a vote in the group, so prepared by the head of national delegation leaders, and nobody opposed to the paper. So it was unanimously accepted yesterday night. But I fully respect that some colleagues are a little bit more defensive and others are a little bit more offensive. You know, we have also colleagues who signed, for example, the initiative to also block immediately gas. For example, the Central Eastern European colleagues, especially the Baltic colleagues, are more on an offensive approach. What we have agreed on is now a common understanding inside of the group, a compromise inside of the group, and that is now today presented. And again, the main message is an immediate embargo on oil and coal. That is the position of the EPP group. And again, it gives you also an idea about the compromise then between the different pillars inside of the group. And on the second question about judgment of the past, you know, it's always easy. You know, I was always against Nord Stream 2. I was criticized heavily in the campaign 2019 that I was so outspoken. I myself, I said after the Crimea occupation in 2014 that now we need tough sanctions. So, you know, we had lively discussion in the last years. The overall understanding in the political class all over Europe was that we should try to do our best to manage things with Russia, to be not aggressive. That was the general understanding we had. So that's why I would not, first of all, judge now about the past. I would say we are now in a new situation and we have to give now the proper answers for the future. I don't want to make a distribution or a distinction between the good and the bad of the past in a way. I think now it's a moment to do the right things for the future, and that is needed.
Thank you for your support. Irina Sommer, news agency Interfax, Ukraine. Your proposal, especially to put immediate embargo on oil and coal, and then later on gas, is a challenge for the EU. If your political group is really supporting that, what can you say about the rest of the EU? What about Orban, who is a real ally for Mr. Putin and who will be against? Don't you think that it put EU at whole at the edge, at the risk? Or it's time to decide it for all EU who is ally for Russia and who is a member of EU? Thank you.
You know, first of all, I have to present the ideas from my political family, and that is the EPP group. And in the EPP family, we have on this now a common understanding. That is already again major achievement, and gives also orientation for what do we have to do now from now on. On the concrete perspective towards Hungary, let me underline that for the moment the European Union voted unanimously in favor of the sanctions, and that is already good that we had in the previous decisions this unanimous decision. Let me express that when I hear that Viktor Orban said publicly that he won against Zelensky, that is for me quite big surprise. Why he positions himself in a way that he won against Zelensky, because again he followed all proposals on European level on the sanctions packets against Russia. So I think this kind of conflict is not needed, and I would ask everyone to be together and join forces. That is my message towards Viktor Orban and towards Fidesz. Let's stay united. That is what we do. We have different opinions on some of the issues, but let's stay united. That would be my main message.
Any other question?
Bonjour. Good morning. Emmanuel Strosser, Brussels 2. I have two questions, if I may. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Is that all right? So you didn't have unanimity when it comes to an embargo on gas supplies. So where are the sticking points, and are there positions that are changing in that respect compared with the beginning of the war in Ukraine? And my second question has to do with the defense union. You were saying earlier that it's not going far enough. There are ideas coming forward, but no concrete action. So what would be the first and next step?
On the first point, our today's statement that the EPP Group, the largest political family in the European Parliament, is asking for an immediate stop of coal and oil, is a strong message in today's situation. We have not clarification on the Council side whether the Council is ready to do so. So the biggest political family is asking now for this immediate step. We know that this is still discussed on the Council side, heavily discussed on Council side. So from a People's Party point of view, we are clear now on this, coal and oil. And we speak there about more than half of the money we pay every day to Russia. That would be already a major step to reduce the capacity of Russia to finance the Putin oligarch and autocratic and dictatorial system and to finance the war. That would limit already strongly and heavily the resources and the chances for Putin to continue. So that's why let's do it now. Bucha is a message behind, is a motivation behind, let's do it now. That is the main message for today. And the second point about the defense union, you know that we speak a lot about this. We have also on the words a lot of common sense, but we are lacking initiatives. What is then concretely going on the defense union? From my point of view, from a PPP point of view, I can tell you that we should start with initiatives where we see an obvious added European value. For example, on cyber war, nobody cares anymore about where your server is placed, whether in Italy or in Germany or in France, but more importantly, which software you're using. That is a key question in cyber war. So it makes sense to have a European unit in cyber defense to create really European brigade to defend our internet infrastructure in the European Union of today. Or I give you another example. We have European-wide now a debate about missile defense system. In the north of Europe, it's about Kaliningrad, for example, about the Russian territory there. And on missile defense, we had the problem with the drone in Zagreb, for example, the problems there. On air defense, it's so obvious that a European infrastructure makes much more sense than 27 national infrastructures about air defense. That's why let's do these investments together. Let's build up European capacities. I would not immediately go for the European army. That's a long-term project. But what we need is now investments in the obvious fields where we have an European added value. And there I mentioned 2 examples to do so. And there we need concrete initiatives from the Commission and the readiness from Council to do it.
Is there any other question? David again.
Thank you. It's on another subject, if I may, Hungary. I'm wondering if you have a comment on the results of Sunday elections, and if you expect that the European Commission will activate finally the rule of law mechanism. Thank you.
Well, the Hungarians have spoken. It's the decision of the Hungarian voters. We are waiting for the final assessment of the observation mission, so about the management and about the way how the election and especially the campaign was managed. So there we are waiting for the facts. Again, my main message is that I'm quite shocked about the statements towards Zelensky. I cannot understand why a European leader is putting himself in opposition to a president who is fighting for his country, unprovoked aggression from Russia, and defending European way of life. That is what I cannot understand. So that is what I am really surprised and even shocked about the statement. But again, the Hungarians have spoken, and we have to respect the outcome of this democratic vote. So in rule of law mechanism, you know that the recovery fund money is still blocked towards Hungary. What we ask for the Commission is to make a proper assessment and to check things about the reasons and let me say, the arguments, the facts to activate the rule of law mechanism. And what I want to achieve is that it is not anymore a party political issue that I or other politicians in the Parliament comment about activating the mechanism. What I want to see is a neutral assessment from the Commission and then a court case in Luxembourg, because finally judges should decide about rule of law and not politicians should judge about rule of law. That's why I fully trust that the Commission will do their job in the next days.
Laura?
It was the same question as David, so it's okay.
Okay, last one.
Just technical question. Are you going to mobilize other political group around your paper, and where this paper will go then? Thank you.
Well, you know that this week the European Parliament will again present a joint resolution for answering the current developments in Ukraine. And this will be absolutely part of this process. So we try to send this week with the resolution of the European Parliament a strong message to the outside world. What is now a message now after the trip of Roberta Metsola and also after the new escalation now with Bucha? What is now our message? So we will contribute with our paper to this document. And for the moment, I think you all saw this, for the moment there is a quite good common understanding in the Parliament that we want to be together as European Parliament. We want to give a clear signal to Council. We want to express our expectations to the Council. And I'm sure the colleagues and we as group leaders, we will do the same to coordinate things for this week's resolution.
Thank you. And if you have further questions related to the paper, you can address it to me. The paper is available there. Thank you very much.